Hello and welcome to another episode of Let's Rage Coogs, the unofficial post-game show of the University of Houston Athletics. I'm joined by Dunlap, Aqib Gazi. I'll let you go first. Introduce yourself, sir. How can people find you?
Hey, what's up? I'm Dayon. You can follow me on my Twitter handle, which is right below. You can follow me, I'll follow you back.
And Aqib, where can people join you, sir?
You see it on the screen below at Aqib Gazi on Twitter and Instagram.
And you guys can follow me on Twitter at Ayonis_5. What a crazy sequence. Houston going on a 25-9 run to close out Illinois and advance to their third straight Sweet 16. We have a couple of guests, so we'll jump right into it. We're going to bring in Galen Robinson. Thank you for standing by, sir. Thank you for joining us. How's it going?
What's good, y'all, man? Thank y'all for having me. First off, man, my adrenaline is still going crazy.
Yeah, we appreciate you for joining, man. Take us through that stretch. Fabian, I feel like he kind of jump started, and they really just went on from there. And I saw you tweeted culture.
Oh yeah, Fabe, he probably didn't have the type of game that he wanted to have offensively, but that's with our culture. It don't stop at what you do on the offensive end. It's something you do on defensive end. So him getting that loose ball, that was like a major demoralizing play. You know what I'm saying? Especially being like, when that something happens to us, like in the professional level, like it's really demoralizing for you. So it's really like an energy booster for the other team for sure.
Along those, I was gonna go, but I was gonna say, along those notes, Jamal Shred came huge in that game. Whenever Illinois tied it at 40, it seemed like I think he scored 7 straight points in that run. I mean, he was really the key to ignite that final run to put Illinois away. What can you say about Jamal Shred?
I just know I saw him working hard all summer, so it's no shock to me. But it just seemed like they were, the pros and cons of having a big man like that is they tend to be a little slower. So I noticed that they were flipping the screens because he didn't have the quickness to get from one side of the screen to the other. So we were just taking advantage of that, and Jamal was getting into the paint and just making shots that he worked on daily.
Hey Galen, what's up? Talk to us about how that play from Fabian White at the end to get the steal, to get the loose ball, and then the assist. Talk to us about how that defines our program and the culture.
That's literally our program in a nutshell. Just being relentless, not giving up. And it's me and Damian Dotson. He also went to University of Houston, got drafted by the Knicks. So me and him watching the game together. And when when he threw the ball in, we both yelled, "Culture, culture!" Like that's just literally our program in a nutshell. Just being relentless and just not giving up.
Man, if he right there, tell him to hop on real quick, man. Say what's up to the Coug Nation.
I got the AirPods in, but
okay.
Hey, Dad, say what's good to the folks, man.
What's up, fellas?
Hey,
what's up? Go Cougs.
Go Cougs.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Man, just speak about Coach Sampson and the way he gets you guys ready. I mean, everyone was counting out Houston. I mean, I didn't see any experts. Kyler talked about it back at being against the odds, just the adversity. You see videos of Coach Sampson being hyped. What is it like playing for the GOAT?
Hey, man, listen, you might have to reiterate that question again because I'm about to go on a long ramble. It's just a lot of stuff that I've been hearing recently, man. Like the commentators are like, oh, they haven't beaten a single digit seed since whatever year, and it's just like on our Final Four run. The teams that beat the single-digit seeds were double seeds. All we did was play the teams that won. We didn't decide on who. Like we just played to win. So it's just like, but playing for Coach Sampson, man, it's not for the weak. He gonna challenge you every day. He gonna challenge you. You're gonna have to dig deep within yourself to pull that dog out of you, man. And it's a challenge, but I mean, it pays dividends. You can tell tonight the way our guys played today, man. That's he has this unique way of our guys. They're already they're a group of highly motivated guys, but he has this way of just getting you to just be ready to bite concrete. Like it's insane how he can just get you amped up, and you don't think you get any more amped up. He just has unique ability to make you just be ready to go above and beyond. And that's why he is the GOAT.
Hey Galen, I'm not one to trash talk, but there's another team in our conference that they got bounced early. Can you say something a little about that? We saw a lot of banter going on Twitter.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, but it's all fun competition. But I wanted to see them do well, and I know that they're a good team. And one thing that they did well, they were just chaotic, athletic. They're flying all over the place. And I honestly thought they were my pick to beat Gonzaga because that's how highly I think of them. But they just play so hard as well. But hats off to them boys, man. Hats off to them. It's came up short, but they definitely should be content with the effort that they gave.
And along those lines, Galen, something that Kelvin Sampson always mentions when he's talking about the program and how they've elevated, it's the foundation that guys like you, before you, Rob Gray, he always mentions Damian Dotson, Wes Van Vleck, the list goes on and on. When you look at the run, especially now, third straight year, there's been a tournament that Houston advanced to the Sweet 16. Do you ever just take a step back and think about, we laid that foundation, we helped establish that culture, and it's carried on.
Yeah, people don't let me forget it. Like, I don't like to really think too highly of myself, but it was just honestly like a privilege just to be a part of something like that. When we were the people who believed in us were the guys that were in the locker room. I remember we were Coach Sampson. I used to be me, Coach Sam. I was a freshman at the time, so it was me and Wes. Wes was a walk-on because all the other guys, they made us do it. But we used to go to the frat houses and go to try to get people to come to the game. And of course, they tell us yeah, we'll be there. We'll be there. Hotline's still empty. And to see now the support we're getting, obviously it's because we're winning, but to see everybody kind of gravitate towards the team because of the success we're having and how hard these guys work, man, it's a beautiful thing to see. And, I just remember my senior year, I think we were playing Memphis, first game of conference play. And I just remember looking around man, this is the environment that I used to watch other schools have. And now I'm playing this type of environment. You know what I'm saying? It was kind of surreal to me.
Man, talk about the family atmosphere, because I saw that I think Coach Kellen talked about how you joined practice when they had some of the bodies went down and just your willingness to go back and help, and what you saw from the group when you went back to help practice and just have extra bodies, and what you see from the way they played today and they continue this run.
They're definitely light years away from the team that I practice against. I was just trying to give them a different look and try to help the guys who, like Tajay. Tajay was not the guy y'all see today. Let me tell you, he was shook. But we were asking him to do things that were kind of almost out of his. We were asking him to do it initially, but Doc, can you keep it down, brother? Yeah. But Tajay. But when you. Guys like that who are extremely talented, we know you don't have to worry about somebody coming in a sub to get you out after you make a mistake. It gives you a lot of confidence. And you see that today that Coach Sampson, he had to breathe confidence in these guys, had to expand their games. And, I just remember thinking, I was like, man, Mark and T-Mark went down. I'm curious to see how I know he's going to do something, but I'm curious to see how he's going to do it. And he just kept the formula the same. Whatever the toughest team is going to win, and that's been us.
Hey, Galen. So could you talk about it from an analytical standpoint, even before this game, when you looked at the matchup between Houston and Illinois, and you saw what we were able to do with Kofi Coburn, defensively, trapping him, sending double teams his way. Did you feel like that's the same game that was going to happen? That's how we were going to game plan for it?
Our defensive scheme pretty much stays the same because we monitor the post on everybody. So, I wasn't too terribly worried about that. But I just knew that the way we can play getting up and down, and bro is 7'1", 300. They say it's 285. That's a lie. And bro about 300 pounds. So him getting up and down the court, it was going to wear on him. And then we were going to send guys on him. And Reggie, Jaywan, Josh, Fave, they all did a good job of being physical, wearing them down. And over the course of a 40-minute game, especially when he's the other team's primary scorer, and then he's having to guard on the other end, that's going to wear him down. So I honestly wasn't really worried about him. I was worried about Plummer and Frazier more so than I was Coburn.
Man, talk more about Tajay. I know you're saying he wasn't the player we seen, but he had probably his best game today, along with Kyler. Like those two, along with Jamal. Jamal, especially you as a point guard, playing under Coach Sampson. I mean, he just dominated the game from all three guards. What are you seeing from them, and how far they can help take us?
I know Taj. I remember I was on the scout team when we were practicing, and he was the one on the other team, and he didn't even know where to go. Like, he was just in over his head. Oh, I was like, bro, on this play, you got to go right here and make a pass like this. Like, I remember specifically coaching him, and he was obviously absorbing it because, you know, he wants to do good things. But seeing him today, and even from that point up until this point, mind blown. But it's like, it doesn't really come as a shock to me because he has all the skills, all the tools. You know, he was finishing over Coburn. He was attacking relentlessly because he could jump over him. Like, not everybody can do that. And then Kyler, he just did what he does. He makes shots, tough shot maker, tough shot taker. And Jamal, I've just really been impressed with him because it's crazy how with something like that happens, how other guys step up and they're able to play the way that they're capable of playing. And Jamal, he's definitely taking that step, especially with his passing, his leadership abilities, taking control of the game, the pace of the game, and being able to take and make shots confidently. You know, and I'm proud of all those guys.
Yeah, along those lines, one of those transfers, Josh Carlton, who for the most part, he had to guard Kofi Coburn pretty much most of the game. I know there was this one position where I think Coburn was able to get him down low in the post. He scored on him, and he came down the possession. He was rocking the baby. Josh Carlton comes down the other end. He gets the rebound. Exact. Puts up the N1 and he makes the free throw. Just possessions like that. Those are culture plays that you guys, the program always touts about. But can you talk a little bit about Josh Carlton and how, like I said, he's a transfer. He came from UConn, and really what he said throughout the season is when he came to Houston, he realized that the biggest change is how they know how to win. That was his main thing that he said. That's what he wanted to do when he came to Houston. Can you talk about Carlton a little bit?
I remember him being in the gym in the summer as well. I remember certain guys left to go home for break. He was in the gym with me, like just on the other end, putting in. So like these guys having the success that they're having, it's no surprise. But I remember Josh with UConn, and I remember he always gave us problems. So when he joined the squad, I'm like, okay, cool, we'll take him. We'll take him with open arms. But it's kind of unbelievable to me that after I left college or whatever, like the following years, he didn't play that much at UConn. So this got me questioning the UConn coaching staff, like, what were y'all doing? Because this kid is a monster. But again, him having the success that he's having, being first team all conference, is no surprise to me. It may be surprise to everybody, but it's no surprise to me.
Hey, Galen, I got a question. I want to know how does Coach Sampson do it, man? Every year it seems like we lose a group of guys. When we lost Damian Dotson, and then when we lost Rob Gray, and then Armani the following year, and then last year we lost a whole group of guys with Quentin Grimes, and then this year again, like I want to know from you, like what's the sauce? Like how does he do it? Every year it seems like
the recipe is simple, man. Is work. But you got to think when Jamal last year on that Final Four team, he didn't play that much. But you got to think he was practicing against Dejan and Quinn every day, practicing against those guys every single day. So you're only going to get better practicing against guys who are probably a little better than you, and that's what he did, you know. And it's no secret formula, man. It's just work and being willing to put in the work.
Dayon, you got any other questions before? I know Galen has to go in a second.
Well, I know before we go, just my last question is, what does this team need to continue to do as far as who they play, either Arizona or TCU? And also, we know I think you're the one who coined the term for the city. Let us know about your clothing line, everything you got going. We got to make sure we tag it below so we can make sure.
But first thing about the team, to keep advancing, you just got to keep, you got a Hall of Fame coach. Whenever he gives you a game plan, it's probably best that you follow it. I'm sure he kind of knows what he's talking about, having won over however many 100 games. So I know he's going to have a good game plan, but the key is sticking to the game plan and staying disciplined to, when things might not go our way, to stay on line with the game plan. I know he's going to have our guys ready to play. Arizona and TCU have both good teams, and that's a Sweet 16. That's to go to the Elite Eight. And I remember Coach Sam used to always say, you're just 40 minutes away from the next game. So you got to go out and be the best team for 40 minutes. So if our guys can do that and play harder than the other team, then I'm confident that we're going to win the game, regardless of who we play against.
And Galen, before we let you go, oh, my bad, Aqib, were you gonna?
I just had just one more. Like, I mean, they've been saying it.
Hey,
they
man,
said
go
it
ahead.
last
Whatever
season.
I gotta ask, man, ask them, man. I'm in a flow right now.
Nah, like, so last season they were saying, oh, we played all these double-digit seeds. Does part of you want to play Arizona next game, just because so that we can make a statement and say, like, hey, look, we took out Illinois, and then we're coming for the best teams?
I mean, honestly, to me, it don't matter. We're not ducking smoke from nobody, but we don't have nothing to prove to anyone. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's kind of like people saying that like people still have bad stuff to say about LeBron. It's like, what more does he have to prove? You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying we're, but it's just like you get to a point like somebody's going to always have something to say. Or you get to a Final Four, oh, y'all played double. We just played the teams that won, brother. We don't control that. You know what I'm saying? So people are going to say whatever they want to say. I wish I can say what I'm thinking on air, but no, I'm keep it. Yeah, so forget them.
We appreciate it, Galen. You can't get flagged down on YouTube.
More while he in the zone. Talk about Fabian, man. You've been around Fabian the longest. I mean, the winningest player. I mean, talk about his game from him, everything.
Man, I ain't even gonna lie. I don't even know where to start. Me and Spade, me and Faye, man, we spent so much time together, man. I'm just happy that it's happening to a guy like him. You know what I'm saying? I'm really lost for words. Like, I can't even put into words how proud I am of him. Just because, like, I know how hard he's worked, you know, and I know how much it means to him to do well, to play to the level that that he's capable of playing. But for it to be a Houston kid and to somebody who looked at me and told me that the only reason I came to this school is because of you. You know what I'm saying? That kind of just like, man, because he don't really say too much, but you know, whenever he says something, like it's real. You know what I'm saying? So for it to happen to a guy like that, man, like it almost brings like tears in my eyes. Man, I can't even lie. I'm so happy for him, and I'm so proud of him.
And Galen, unless if we have other questions, I was going to end it on a kind of a funny note. But with share screen is Kelvin Sampson celebrating. You got to talk to us. What's Kelvin Sampson's celebrations like?
Hey, bro. All I was hoping that he just didn't turn around. That's horrible. But man, you know, the coaches they you know they're working on the game plan. They're the ones that's watching endless hours of film. They're putting in more work than we are. You know, it has to be exhilarating for them to know that, especially for him to know that I want my guys to do this, and to know that we did the right thing, and we won. You know what I'm saying? So I know he's feeling triumphant right now, because I know our coaching staff, I know they work very, very hard for sure.
Well, Galen, thank you for taking the time out of your day to join us. Once again, that's G_Robinson1 on Twitter. Be sure to follow him and everything he does. Galen, any other thoughts you'd like to share before we let you go?
Man, this is a cool little thing y'all doing, man. This is all right. This is some nice stuff, man. I salute you, brothers, man, for real.
Hey,
also tagging your clothing line where they can shop for your clothing line before you go.
Clothing line the website is onesubstantial.com, the number one, and then substantial. I hope y'all can spell. And it's just some little clothing that I do on the side, man. It's the meaning behind it is to find your purpose, kind of like Nike slogan is just do it. So it's just something fun that I do, man, and it keeps me mentally sane. You know what I'm saying? So, but like I said, man, appreciate y'all boys for having me, man. Hats off to y'all. Keep doing what y'all doing. And go Cougs.
That was Galen Robinson. We really appreciate him taking the time out of his day to join the show. Dayon Aqib, Dayon kind of cut off for a second. I don't know if he's still there, but before we bring in our next guest, Paige, anything else in terms of the actual game itself? And really what I think was the play of the game was, you mentioned it, Fabian White, when the ball was loose, it seemed like it was going to go out of bounds. He tipped it. Not only did he tip it, but he passed it ahead to Taj Moore, who finished it with the layup for me in the midst of that run. I believe it was a 25-9 run that put the game out of reach when the game was tied at 40. That was pretty the nail of the coffin. What say y'all?
Yeah, definitely. And just like looking back on what we did in the second half defensively against Coffee Coburn, like we almost didn't even let him. We tried to make sure he didn't even get the ball at times, and we saw a couple of steals. I think I think it was Cheney who like anticipated a pass, and we saw that Illinois wanted to just run their offense through Coffee Coburn, and everything else was secondary. And it was. I'm not gonna say it was easy to game plan against, but at the same time, like Houston did an amazing job to shut him down, and they didn't let him get anything going late in the second half.
Yeah, I mean, I think that play you just described was really what turned the tide, and the momentum will fully swing because it's able to pound, and Jamal Shea kind of took over and scored 7 straight points. So, I mean, I think that definitely jump started, and Coach Sampson said it, and it's easier to guard post players versus guarding guards. I mean, because Galen just talked about the monster defense. No matter who Houston plays, they're going to double the post and monster and blitz the post. And so that game plan didn't change. And then you make him defend on the other end. It only makes him exude more energy. But, I mean, Tajay, everyone played good. It was just a sight to see, especially from that one play to Fabian. And that was just like an avalanche.
And on that note, we are not yet to be sponsored hotline. We bring in Paige Lawrence, former University of Houston track and field athlete. Paige, thank you for joining the show. How are you? Give me a second.
I got
there we go.
There you go. No, I'm good. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
So let's get right into it. What were your thoughts from that game? Especially, it's funny that we mentioned that former track and field star. Obviously, this game certainly before Houston kind of blew it open. It was a bit of a track meet for a second. It was a lot of physicality and like I said, Illinois wasn't going away until the very end. Just your overall takeaways from that game.
I think you can always count on Houston to have a fast-paced game. Everywhere they go, it doesn't matter the opponent that they play against. It's always fast-paced, always high intensity, and that's exactly what we saw today against Illinois. And that's how they win games. You can't buy that culture anywhere. Like, it's hard to get to that point. And just to see Houston's transition, like listening to Galen and talking about how U of H used to be and begging people to come to the game, and now it's like you got to try to get a ticket off the street or trying to get a ticket from someone because it's so hard to just get into the games now. So I'm really pleased. I mean, I have Houston going all the way, and today just reassured my pick in my brackets.
Dale and Aqib, I'll let you guys step in. You guys have any questions?
Yeah, I kind of I got Houston as my pick too, and really that defense and that rebounding, like Paige just said, that's really what travels on a game-to-game basis. Anyone can go off. You said Kyler went off in game 1, Tajay and Jamal went off here in game 2. Along with just with all the culture plays, we got so many offensive rebounds in that first, we really wasn't converting them. But still, it kind of just wears down the team when you pound the glass and you just playing so hard. Reggie Miller said it almost seems like Houston has 7 defensive players on the court. That's how much they're in sync. That's how much they're moving. That's how much they're making everything tough. And it was really nothing easy. I thought Illinois' guards would play a little better, Frazier and Plummer, because they struggled in game 1, but they just continued to struggle. Houston contested all shots, and they just played the same post defense that they've been playing all year.
And I agree to that too, because I would say for Illinois, as far as the guards, you had Good come in those 2 back-after-back threes, and that really made a difference for Illinois to really find their footing and regain that energy, because Houston was just really turning over and gaining the energy, really controlling the game there. So I agree that the guards for the Illinois, they were not really doing what I expected them to do as far as this game went.
I mean, at any point in the game, did you feel nervous? Like my heart was pounding, and like especially in that second half because it was a tie game. Like, I mean, did you feel nervous? But at the same time, do you think we're gonna pull it out?
I don't think I sat down at all during the second half. I was nervous just because it's March Madness. You never know what to expect. You don't know if Kofi's gonna get hot because he did have a couple slams where it was just like, oh, okay, I don't want that to carry on into the next possession. But I was a little nervous. Heart definitely was beating throughout the duration of the rest of the game. But I'm securing the Cougs. I'm securing what they can do. The talent really shows for himself. And just to hear the commentators talk about how Houston is seeded and how they're definitely not a 5 seed. And last year having them talk about, oh, we only play double-digit teams and we're not really matching our competition. And now having a total different narrative this season, it's just interesting to me. So I'm just excited. I'm super excited for the next level. Whoever we play, Arizona, TCU, it doesn't matter. Anybody can get it at this point.
As a former Houston athlete, do you feel like Houston kind of gets overlooked being in the American Conference and not just kind of gets that respect?
Definitely. I think no matter what we do as just a school, we're always going to kind of have that underdog note. Everyone always plays us like that for some reason. And it's like every year we have to show them out. No matter what sport it is, I think we always battle in that narrative. And it's unfortunate, but it's kind of a thrill at the same time because it's like, okay, hold on. I got you. Let me show you what we can really do.
And along those lines, you were talking about earlier how really this program has been able to grow from where it was. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe you first joined the university in 2014, around that era, when Kelvin Sampson first joined the program. So you kind of got to witness really how when he first came here, how he was able to build it up from literally from the ground up. Obviously, Houston always had the history in terms of the 80s, those teams, the Final Four teams with Phi Slama Jama, and then it really fell off from there until Kelvin Sampson came back and built it back up. Can you talk a little bit about what you've seen, obviously being a part of the athletics department and see the gradual improvement year over year until now? That's the third straight season that they've made a Sweet 16.
Yeah. Freshman year, I always think back to Hot Finds and how dark it was in there and how just it was old. It needed something new, something refreshing. To see Coach Sampson come in and really just evolve that in the culture. That's a thing. That's a real thing. That's not something that they're just saying. Coach Sampson will literally walk onto the campus and go to classes, asking students to come to the games and adding that personal touch. I think it really makes you feel connected to the university and Houston as a whole. And, just to see them from going to struggle to win games to struggle to lose games, it's just black and white. And the new facility definitely adds a new touch. Like they have mirrors and TVs in their bathrooms. Like that's state of the art. Like, so just having that be a part of the evolution of the University of Houston and the facilities and the program, recruiting, people want to come here. You don't even have to do much because your work really speaks volumes for itself. So just to see the growth, it's definitely there. And I think it's here to stay now. I think the culture is definitely foundation, something that Coach Sampson actually said in his post-game interview. He was saying that we don't water trees, we water roots. Mm-hmm. And I think from there, they can really build on for the future of this program and where it's going to go from here.
Yeah, I was there those same years. And I can't even imagine, at that time that the program would be built like this from Coach Sampson. Like I was there from 2012 and I was going to the games, but I'll be honest, like you wouldn't see nobody
right
in the arena. So it's crazy. Like some of the incoming, freshmen or whatever, like they're seeing all this right now, but just talk a little bit about like how, they might not be able to fully appreciate, what's really happening, what's going on.
Yes, I will say there is a different sense of appreciation because we were there when the stands were empty. We were in Hot Finds grabbing all the shirts off the seats. Like we were a part of I really feel like we were a part of the foundation of where the team is now. And just I don't think this generation really will appreciate it the way we did, but that's okay because, sometimes a lot of us, we have to pave the way for it to be the way that it is today. And, now just to see the crowds and see the fans engaged, people with their shirts off going crazy in the stands. I love that. I love that atmosphere. I've always seen that from other schools with their basketball environment. And now to see U of H being one of those cultures and having that be a part, it's just a different thrill. It's a different feeling.
Speaking of shirts off, I don't know if you saw Kelvin
Oh.
Sampson. He took his shirt off, and Charles Barkley actually said during the broadcast, he's like, I don't think we can unsee that.
Yeah, but you love to see that. You love to
Yeah,
see
for
his
sure.
connection with his team and how proud he is, and they're celebrating each small win to the bigger win. And I just love that, to see him in the moment. You can't be mad at that. I mean, come on.
And Paige, on a couple of notes before we let you go, in terms of like we mentioned, in terms of Houston back in the Sweet 16, they're going to play the winner of Arizona or Texas Christian. It'll be interesting if they have to play either of the schools, obviously, but TCU with the upcoming move to the Big 12 would be something to note. And obviously, of course, Arizona being the number 1 seed in the region, that writes the story. It gets written by itself. Do you have a preference for the matchup? And what do you think the keys will be for Houston to advance to the Elite Eight for the second straight year?
I will take Arizona. That's who I had originally in my bracket to go against Houston. I think for Houston to be efficient against Arizona, rebounding, we do that well. So just continue on with that, but also converting, making those scoring runs, because Houston's one of those teams that can go on a scoring run and keep that run. So just Houston keeping the fast pace, keeping the rebounding, everyone pretty much getting engaged. You're seeing the players getting more comfortable beyond the arc, and that's something that's been beneficent for Houston as far as their competitors go. So I think just doing exactly what we saw today, especially in the second half, is how they will be successful and advance on to Elite Eight from there.
Well, Paige, we want to thank you again for joining us. Let us know where they can find you. I know you got your own podcast. Front pages behind you. Plug yourself in.
Yes. So my @name is @PaigeSays2. If you're interested in another sports podcast, it is The Front Pages on Instagram, PAIGES. And you can just find that on Instagram. New episodes every Monday.
I'll give you 10 out of 10 for that name. That's a pretty catchy name. I'll give you that.
That's my drift. You get it. You get it. That's all that matters.
Well, Paige, thank you for joining us, and good luck with your future endeavors, and good luck to Houston. We'll see you next weekend.
Yes, thank you so much, guys. Love what you have going on here, and keep going, and go Cougs.
Thank you, Paige, again for taking the time to join us. We have Chris Gardner on standby, but Dayon Aqib, before we bring in Chris, once again, going back to this game, and really we've talked a little bit about Taj Moore, but certainly before that final run that Houston did to put the game out of reach, to be quite frankly, there was a point where he was the only offense for Houston. It seemed like he was the most effective scorer, and he had the advantage where he could literally, it seemed like at times he could glide and jump over Kofi Coburn and his defense. We can't say enough about how big of the credit has to go to Taj Moore, especially towards the middle of that game, early second half.
Yeah, he defined like exactly what Houston basketball is all about, and that's the one thing that's like. And before I talk about more about him, like you can get UH players at any given day, like whether it be Fabian or whether it be Tajay or Shed. Today it was also Shed. Like any one game, someone's gonna step up, and then also Kyler Edwards, he's been consistent too now. And last game he had 25. So, I mean, but speaking on Tajay, like this was probably one of his better games of the whole entire season. He was literally doing it all, like defense, offense as well, and just like I'm proud of what we've seen from him in the tournament.
And on that note, via our yet to be sponsored hotline, we bring in, as always, Chris Gardner of the Houston Roundball Review. Chris, thank you for joining us. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing great, man. Y'all are doing a great job. You got guests now. I mean, do we have I'm on the yet sponsored line. What is the guest line? We have a sponsorship, a name for that too, Andy? What do you want to call that? I mean, because I guess I'm a guest to you guys' show, but I'm kind of different than Galen Robinson. I mean, he's the guy who helped start this turnaround of the program.
Yeah, I don't know. We gotta come up with a name for it. It's certainly gonna be we gotta keep growing. Maybe we'll call it the sponsored segment. We like we said, we got so many things to grow and continue to do it. But
and
Chris,
let me say real quick before we get into the game, you got Andy, you taking this and run with it, and I'm enjoying all the feedback and comments. But I challenge the people tuning in to the show on Twitter and YouTube, support this show. Okay. And I mean, support it with word of mouth. Of course, that's great, but with dollars. Okay. Andy's had this idea. We want to see it grow. I think he's done a great job with a limited budget. Imagine what we could do with a bigger budget. Okay. So that's a challenge to the Cougar fans and Cougar alums going forward, because this is just the start of it. It's not going to end when this tournament run ends. Andy has plans to do this for football season and going forward. So that's my challenge to you I am an alum as well. I'm the oldest of these guys right here, but I am an alum from class 94. So I am getting the thrill out of all of you youngsters and Aqib with, he remembers the days of Hawthorne's young fella. I remember the days of Ray McCallum going when there was nobody in that dungeon of Hawthorne Pavilion, so it is just a thrill for this old man to see the program come so far and go back to the Sweet 16 for the third straight tournament.
So that's way before even Aubrey Coleman took us, to the tournament.
Yes, that's Tom Pender's days. I mean, it was some dark days of UH basketball.
Ooh, I figured that out. We appreciate Chris. I can't thank you enough for those words. They mean a lot. And I mean, even like what Galen Robinson said right now before he left, he shouted us out. So let's continue to build that momentum. Let's continue to grow. I'm looking at our viewer count right now. This is the most live view show that we've had, that we've done these, and that means a lot. But Chris, let's get right into it. Obviously, you just came from the post-game availability that Kelvin Sampson had after Houston defeated Illinois in their second round matchup of the NCAA tournament. They will once again advance to the Sweet 16, third straight year that the tournament's been held. The Houston has at least advanced to the Sweet 16. Did anything stand out? What did Kelvin and the players that spoke have to say?
Do you know what portion of the clip you got lined up? Is it the intro or what? Have you had a chance to listen to it?
I have not. I'm trying to double edit it.
Okay, no worries. But I'm going to go backwards. Well, one thing that stood out was Coach Sampson said that we knew they were going to highlight Kofi on one end. We're going to go pick and roll to him on the other end. So because they knew, and you saw it down the stretch of Kofi, he was in drop coverage basically. So he was like daring Jamal Shed to hit a jump shot or penetrate. And Jamal's like, okay, I'm ready for this. I can make jumpers. I can finish at the rim too. So he did great work. And then Coach Underwood for Illinois, he gave kudos to both Jamal and Taze gave them credit for their performance today in the win for Houston. You're muted, Andy.
I guess we're all muted because of the video. Correct. Yeah.
I don't see it anymore. So.
No, yeah. No, I was going to ask a question, and this is for Dayon and Aqib. You guys have to unmute yourself, but was there anything that you guys wanted to ask Chris before we move on a little bit?
Yeah, Chris, like, what do you think when you saw it? Because Kofi Coburn, he was doing some damage in the first half and early in the second half. Like, what did you think of the job that, the Houston players did against him, especially in the second half? And, almost daring for the other players of Illinois to, try to make a play.
Well, the one thing I think Illinois kind of went away from, which surprised me, is it's harder to double team Kofi when he's in the middle of the painted area. And when he's on one side or the other, the double team's easier, and then it shields his vision to make a pass out of it. So when he was in the middle of the painted area, middle of the floor, it was much harder to double team him. And they went away from that. Josh Carlton did as well as he could. He got in foul trouble, but he did his job. Brady Cheney did his job. We touched on it before, talking about the matchup. And Coach Sampson said it again in postgame. He has no problem defending bigger post players for another team. That's what they enjoy doing. It's much easier to defend a big post player than it is to defend on the perimeter.
Ayon, do you have anything for Chris? I wanted to ask him about Jamal Shead and Taj Moore.
Yeah, no, I'm just going to piggyback on what he said about the defense and Kofi. I think they, like in the times when they actually put Kofi in pick and roll and allowed him to roll, they had more success versus just trying to post him up on the block, like you said, Chris. And that was something that I noticed as well. And we both thought Illinois' guards would play better, but I think they're struggle. But I mean, I guess going right into your question, I guess you want to ask him about Tajay and Jamal Shead. What were your thoughts on both of those?
Tajay was, it's good to see the staff giving him more responsibility this last 2 weeks. You know, they've gone to, we touched on it, I think, in the very first Let's Rage Coogs about wanting to see him get more touches in the mid-range. They're posting him up more. And coach did not say it specifically, but he mentioned that they felt they had some advantages, some matchups that they wanted to exploit today. And I'm sure Tajay, on pretty much anybody Illinois had on him, was one of those matchups they wanted to exploit.
I've been saying this, you know, throughout the show in the past. That mid-range jump shot, I'm gonna say it again. I'm gonna say it every single game, every single show. But that mid-range jump shot for Tajay is like his bread and butter. And I don't know, like talk about also, Tajay, like what else he's been able to do outside of just being able to score the basket.
I mean, the story, it's great to hear him now getting more national recognition about the 5 leg surgeries. And this question was, after the surgery, would he have the same hops that he had before the surgeries? I'm just trying to imagine if he's lost any hops from the surgeries, because just imagine if he jumped higher before the surgeries, what he's doing now. He glides through the air. And he had some Tajay moments too, because Coach Sampson said, I think at one point this season, that sometimes Tajay helps both teams. He had one of those in the first half where he rushed a shot, and you're like, Tajay, what is this? But then he followed up with a great play. You know, his hang time bucket over Kofi. When he went right at Kofi jumped with him. Tajay like, okay, I'm going to hang here for a little bit. You come down, I'm going to finish over you anyway. So Taj Moore, just good and bad. But that second half for he and Jamal was sensational. And Andy, if you don't mind, put up that comment right there from SB, that last one about Corbello. I am too. I'm surprised he did not play more today. I mean, he struggled in the first game of the tournament with the 6 turnovers, but I mean, he is one of their better guards, I thought. So that's on Illinois. That's their problem. They're done now. It's on to San Antonio for the Cougs, so who cares?
Yeah, 10 minutes, 0 for 4. Really struggled early. But speaking of Taj Moore, I figured out the clip, and I want to play it. So this is Taj Moore speaking.
This past year, to be on this stage and to be able to produce, 21 points and be kind of an offensive go-to guy there, what does that mean to you? What kind of emotions does that bring out?
It just shows that they believe in me, and I appreciate them more than they ever know it. Just because all those long nights Coach Q worked out with me and Coach Sampson yelling at me, it just shows that he just wants it for all of us. All the coaching staff, they want it for all of us, and they know who they recruit and they know what we can do, and they just try to pull it out of us every day in practice, in the film room, even at 7 a.m. when we have to go through walkthroughs. They just energize the guys, and they just come every day, and it's hard to not be on the same level as them when they come like that every day.
Last question for the student athletes right down here.
Joseph Dykes with Blue Ribbon Basketball. Jamal, guarding Kofi is a team effort. And I was wondering, as a guard, what is it like helping on Kofi and being part of that team construct?
Coach made a lot of emphasis that, the easier that they can get the ball to Kofi, the easier it is for him to score. So, for me personally, just get out in pressure and make it as hard as a pass as it can be. So, my guys like Reggie and Josh, Fabe and Jaywan don't have to go through so much and put it all on them. It's a team sport. It's a team effort. We just wanted to help them as much as we can.
Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate it.
A couple things on that note that honestly Galen Robinson talked about when he was on, but I was curious about Taj Moore's comments whenever he transferred over here and getting the opportunity to play on this grand stage. Something that Galen Robinson talked about. It's just something about Calvin Sampson where he gets players to buy in, and he's been able to do it since he stepped foot at U of H. And Chris, this is something that he says, it seems like probably once every 2 weeks whenever he's speaking to reporters about how the key word he always said was how there was a lot of apathy towards the program when he first took over in 2014. And he mentions that he had to fight people along the way, get them to care about the program. And then you look at a comment like what Taj Moore said, and it's just a complete turnaround that now kind of Houston is honestly, they've kind of become a place to be, especially with players from a whole bunch of different areas that come over here and they're able to buy it. And that's something that Calvin Sampson has never been let go. And I think that speaks volumes to what he's been able to establish, not only himself, of course, but the coaching staff and just the culture that's around. I didn't mean to say culture as in Houston always says it, but the tradition that they've done and that they've established.
Agreed. And I want to say this, and Coach, and he said it a couple of times, but it's true. But part of his post-game comments was all those guys referencing Quinn, Dejan, Justin, Bryson are gone, but the culture never changes. It's all about us and we. And as a UH alum, it's Houston versus everybody. It's been that way since I was at the school. It may never change. Even when in championship, it may never change. But so what? National recognition from the media, who cares? But I promise you, players, kids around the country, they recognize what's going on here in Houston. They recognize what Coach Sampson and the staff have established. And a lot of them want to be here. Believe me when I say that. So I'm not worried about what national guys say, whether they pick them to beat UH win today. So what? UH got the job done, going to 3-16. But don't be surprised with another transfer or two comes in. You're like, wow, really? That's all I'm going to say on that.
And well, Chris, thanks for adding that note there. But along those lines, the other comment that Jamal Shedd spoke about in terms of their game plan to attack Kofi Cockburn and really defend them. And I've noticed this really in the first half, but throughout the entire game, that Houston did a great job of making Kofi have to exert so much effort just to be able to get open and get the ball. I mean, when you look at him down low in the paint, it didn't matter who was guarding him, especially if he had Reggie Chaney or some of the other smaller bigs on him. They would front him. They were fronting him, and they had to not only make him have to work, but the other players for Illinois, they literally had to make a perfect pass for him to be able to get the ball. And then usually when he would get it, he would end up getting fouled and he had to go shoot free throws. I think that game plan that Houston was able to execute was perfect. And really, I think that was a big factor. And I think the TV broadcast mentioned it, how exhausted Kofi Cockburn looked. And honestly, when you look at the game, I feel like that played a big factor in the run Houston was able to do at the end of the second half, where they were able to close it out, because it seemed like Illinois kind of ran out of gas there at the end.
Jamal made a great point. It's more difficult for a post player to get the ball if the perimeter passers are being pressured. Mm-hmm. And he did a great job of that. So did Kyler and Tajay did a great job of pressuring the entry passes. A lot of those passes were not perfect passes. So if they got to Kofi, he had to work just to catch it, and then had to worry about where the defenders were coming. So that's all part of the Houston defense. And I want to say this, I won't forget it. When Jamal committed to Houston, I spoke to him and he told me this. He said he was out, and I wish I tell you that I missed Galen being on the show earlier. He said that he was Galen Robinson with an offense. So that means defense first, because that's what Galen was known for, but with offense. And I think we saw a lot of that today, because Jamal, for a stretch in the second half, he took over on offense for Houston.
Yeah, he was the player that ignited that run that put away the game against Illinois. I think it was when they tied it at 40 and he scored 7 straight points. And a lot of it was getting to a spot. He loves that floater, and honestly, he's become kind of automatic when he shoots that floater. Aqib, were you going to say something before I move on?
Yeah, I mean, for like Shedd, that's like that's become his bread and butter, that floater. I'm every time he throws that up, like I'm extremely confident that's going to go down. And I mean, looking at him as a playmaker, How many assists today? I think he had 3, but there were many times he had an extra pass, or like it was like an hockey assist, and you could see the numbers also show it. Like I think he's number 7 in the country in assists per game. He's top 5 in total assists in the country, top 5 in assist to turnover ratio. And like when he's on the floor, he's our floor general, and kind of moves how he moves. So I mean, I don't know if Chris had anything to add on Shed and his greatness.
Well, the most important thing is the Cougs only had 9 turnovers. Illinois had 17, and I think the Cougs won the points off turnover battle 20-13. So that's important. That's a key part of Houston's success, is to limit turnovers themselves, but also take advantage of turnovers they force from the opponent. And we're seeing Jamal Shead continue to grow. And you guys know it. I'm not going to say who the colleague was, but the colleague made a reference to Jamal being a sophomore.
Yeah.
And Coach Sampson said, nope. He's a freshman. He's a 19-year-old freshman. So, but whatever. Jamal Shead, it's his first time starting in the NCAA tournament, and he's played well thus far in the first 2 games for Houston.
Yeah, and as we look ahead, obviously, of course, Sweet 16 they'll play sometime next weekend. It'll be Friday or Saturday, correct? One of those 2 days where
Thursday
they
or
match
Friday.
up. Thursday or Friday.
Yeah.
Interesting. Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
Sunday.
yeah.
It's Thursday and Saturday for San Antonio for South region.
So there you go. Yep, Thursday and Saturday.
So one of those 2 days, it'll be interesting. But obviously, of course, they'll play the winner of Arizona and TCU. Chris, when it comes to that matchup, is there one in particular that might favor Houston, or is it more of a wait and see? What could that potential matchup look like if it's Arizona or if it's TCU?
Arizona probably has more athletes, but Kerr Kriisa is their best point guard, but he's dealing with an ankle issue. But I mean, TCU, Mike Miles is from the state, so that a TCU Houston matchup, bragging rights for the state of Texas, could be a lot more intense for that matchup. But Arizona, as the number 1 seed in the region, would get more attention if the Cougs were to beat them.
Yeah, and especially with us, especially with how last season went, with the whole us beating up on double-digit seeds. Like I asked Galen, I don't know if he caught that, but I asked Galen Robinson on the show, like, do you prefer to play Arizona just because of the bragging rights? And he said for him it was like it doesn't matter. He said we should have the respect from the national attention from everybody, regardless of who we play in the tournament. So I don't know if Chris, if you share that same sentiment.
And I don't care. Houston should have their respect nationally. Still don't. And like I said, they may never get the national respect. Don't care. Even if the national respect does not come after a championship and people still hate, don't care. Take the national championship and keep it moving. Whatever. What Coach Sampson and the staff have built here is built to last. And if some national media refuse or are slow to recognize that, that's on them.
Yeah, and I think you could see that even in the TV broadcast. I think it was Reggie Miller that said at Houston, they're not a 5 seed in terms of their rankings. That was a big controversy among Houston fans. They felt that they were seated lowly. Now, mentioning that game between Houston and whoever wins between Arizona and TCU, that game will be on Thursday. I just saw literally Joseph Duarte's tweet of the Houston Chronicle, so they will play Thursday regardless of matchup. Time has yet to be announced. I'm sure that will come after the conclusion of Arizona and TCU. So even that's a big break for Houston, especially after such a physical game that it was against Illinois. That you're going to have a few days of rest before they have to take on whoever their next opponent is. Chris, Aqib, we're going to go around the table. And really, when it comes to this game, obviously, we've kind of hit on all the points. Once again, for those of you just joining us, Houston defeats Illinois 68-53 to advance to the third straight Sweet 16 appearance in the last 3 tournaments that have been held. Houston did a really good job defensively on Kofi Cockburn. And we've heard Jamal Shead, we heard Galen Robinson all talk about how key that was. But when it comes to going forward, and I think something that we've touched on in previous Let's Rage Coogs episode is from an offensive standpoint, especially after Marcus Sass and Tremont Mark went down, that was the story of the season at the end of December. This team has kind of evolved to, they don't have a go-to scorer. It varies game by game. And we saw that in game 1 of the tournament against in the first round against UAB. I was stuttering there, but against UAB, we saw that Fabian White really was key in terms of being able to establish the presence for Houston early. He scored the first 6 points, and really it's a completely different turnaround in this game where the bigs were really tasked on containing Kofi Cockburn and exerting all their effort defensively. But you saw Taj Moore, you saw Jamal Shead, you saw Kyler Edwards step up big. How big of a help has that been for Houston that they don't necessarily have a go-to scorer? Because especially when you look at these teams, the farther you get into the tournament, you see them. Usually they have one player that stands out. Houston doesn't necessarily have that, but they have multiple players that can be that guy on any given night.
Okay, real quick, let me reference what we see on the screen there. Alan Luna, thank you very much for the support to the show. That is a basically a chat sticker, super sticker, and it's an option that people can contribute to Let's Rage Coogs on the Houston Roundball Review YouTube channel. So thank you, Alan. Appreciate it. He's also a follower and watcher of the Let's Talk Houston Rockets show on the channel also. So because of Mr. Yanez, Houston Roundball Review is branching out. So Aqib, you're part of the family now too, brother. So it's all good. So it's great, man. So I'm gonna have you come on and talk Rockets as well. Or we need to have you on the Folks Talking Sports show. So bring you on there for that also. Mm-hmm. But the balance, Andy, you touched on it. Coach Underwood of Illinois, he said it. They did a great job on Fabian White. Fabian did not shoot the ball well today, but it was Jamal Shead, Taj Moore. Coach Sampson and the staff, I think they just, with the balanced attack, you don't know who's going to be the go-to scorer from game to game. So that's got to be hard for opponents to defend because who are you going to key on? Kyler Edwards did work in the first game of the tournament. Today it was Taj Moore and Jamal Shead. Who's going to be Thursday? Could be somebody else. Maybe it's Josh Carlton. It'd be kind of interesting to see what he does if Arizona wins their bigs. But so it's going to be curious to balance. Sometimes it is good to not have one elite player because you got a versatile offense and it's harder for a team to scout.
Yeah, and I don't want to be misquoted on this, but I felt, obviously whenever we lost Sasser and Tremont, there were questions circling the team, like who's going to be the guy for us. But somehow we've, in a way, we've even played better as a unit, not having to rely on Sasser and Tremont to just get us buckets. Because the way this offense runs is, even when somebody's hot, we don't just continuously pound the ball. Unless it's in the post, but we don't continuously just keep going to Shed or keep going to Edwards. It's just we just let the offense flow in it of itself. So, that's just a comment I wanted to make.
No, for sure. And I think you could really see that difference in this game where, especially early in the first half with Illinois, it seemed like at times they were trying to force feed it into Cockburn. And honestly, at times whenever any of the other players would touch the ball, it seemed like they just were indecisive. They had no idea what they were going to do with the ball. And it was, in my opinion, there was a lot of shots that they passed up just because they didn't want to take it off passes. And that helped Houston tremendously on the defensive end. So I agree with you, Aqib. I feel like that's going to help Houston, and it's helped them to this point. And I think the good thing about this team is it's been every game. There's always been someone that steps up, and it's usually more often than not, it's someone different each game day in and day out. So that's certainly going to be something to keep an eye on, depending on whoever plays, whether it be Arizona or TCU. Chris, obviously along the note, they're going to have a few days of rest. They go to the Sweet 16, and we just mentioned Marcus Sasser now. According to other outlets in Houston, they after Houston beat Memphis in the conference tournament, they interviewed Marcus Sasser, who said he would love to play if he were cleared with the X-rays. Now, Calvin Sampson went on a radio show that following Monday and said that he's not going to play again this season. Chris, I'm sure you've heard from inside the team people tell you about that. I was told that it was nothing to monitor. Is it something to monitor, Chris?
I don't think so. Not anymore. I was told a month ago that there was a slim chance that Marcus would be cleared to play before the season ended. That's a medical decision. Obviously, Marcus wants to play. You know, he wants to be part of the team, help the team win. But I thought at the time when I was told that if he did not get a chance to play in the conference tournament, the team would not toss him in the NCAA tournament as his first game back. I mean, that's too much to put on a young man who's been out for 3 months and say, hey, go ahead and play in the biggest tournament of the season and save us. I don't think they're going to do that. So that's, like I said, that was a month ago. Coach Sampson, he's maintained for a while now that Marcus is done for the season. I don't believe that's going to change. 4 games left in the season max. So I'm not going to change it. I'm not going to question Coach Sampson, John Houston, the medical staff. I mean, why right now? Why rock the boat? It's
Exactly.
working right now. You know, Jamal Shedd's playing well. And we don't know what Marcus would be able to do, you know, in a tournament game the further they go. Thursday, Marcus he hasn't played a game since December. How much of a help would he be? Conditioning wise, for sure.
Agreed. And about a week ago, the same thing. They told me that his X-rays, he still had ways to go before he was actually medically cleared to be able to play. And I know, really, especially since he got out of the boot, that's given some fans a lot of speculation to talk about, especially what they saw with Fabian White a year ago. But they need to remember that Fabian White got injured in May. So it was about 9 months after whenever he was able to make the comeback. And even then, when he did come back, it was clear that he wasn't 100%. He had to, slowly ramp his way back up. Now, he still had his moments. Just thinking back to that second round game against Rutgers last season. But he was never 100%, especially when you look at how he was, how he's played this season. It's night and day difference. Along those notes, we have one. We need to get a name for this hotline because, Chris, you're part of one hotline. Here's a different hotline that does not have a sponsor. Miles Coleman, thank you for joining the show. Miles, there we go. Can you hear us, Miles?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can, sir. How are you doing?
I'm very well. How are you? I'm great now that the Cougs got the win, so I'm a lot better today than I was going into the game. I was a little bit scared about Illinois.
Yeah, for sure. So, right off the bat, what were your thoughts of the game, especially the way it ended up turning out? Because for about 30 minutes of that game, Houston Noise was it was a barn burner. Every time Houston, it looked like they were going to have a chance to pull away. Illinois would rally back, and they were tied a couple of times until that final run.
Yeah, I thought both teams started off kind of tight, very slow. Not so the pace wasn't slow, but as far as like scoring, I thought they got out the gate pretty slow. But as Chris mentioned earlier, you never really know with this Houston team who is going to be the player that steps up that day, right? We have today was Taj Moore, at least as far as I feel like Jamal Shedd. He's the type of point guard who commands the game. He has a great feel for it, great pace. I think that he is, as a sophomore, I think he will absolutely be a first team all conference player at some point in his career. but Taj Moore, I feel like, was the heart and the soul of the team today. Just the hustle plays that he made on both offense and defense, and to be able to continue to score when other players were in droughts, when Fabian wasn't necessarily being as aggressive or hitting his shots, or when Kyler wasn't, getting shots in rhythm. And I felt like Tajay kind of was the battery pack for the team today.
For sure. And along those lines, obviously now they're heading to third straight Sweet 16 appearance. They're going to play the winner of Arizona, TCU. How do you feel about that game? And what do you feel about Houston's chances of getting back to the Elite Eight?
So I've watched TCU a lot this year, and I think that there's some sort of an enigma, right? They weren't ranked very highly. I don't think that they were ranked at all in the top 25 coming into the tournament, and I don't think that their seeding tells really the story about TCU. I think it was back in either late March or mid-March. Late February, I apologize, where they beat both Baylor and Kansas in the same week. So, I think TCU has proven that they can beat anyone on any given day. Miles Moore, I believe is his name. I think he's from the state, but he's terrific.
Mike Miles.
Sorry. I'm getting Taj Moore and Mike Miles' name mixed up. Apologize. But Mike Miles, he's an incredible player. I think they have deceptively deep depth for TCU, at least in my opinion. I think that they weren't ranked as highly as they should have been, or that their record shows, but I definitely think TCU is a dangerous team. Arizona, obviously one of the top teams in the country for good reason. I think that athletically, Arizona is a harder matchup for Houston. But I do believe TCU is playing with that chip on their shoulder, that, they're playing with house money. And right now, I feel like they have a lot of steam going in. And if they beat Arizona, I think that they're you got to play with the hot hand. So I think both of those matchups are really difficult for Houston.
Agreed, Miles, and thank you for taking the time and joining the show. Was there any final points you'd like to add before we let you go?
Oh, no, I just want to say I absolutely appreciate the opportunity to come and speak with you guys. I've been a fan since the first time I saw, the Pod Slamma Jamma, so keep doing a great job. I greatly appreciate it. And as always, go Cougs, man.
Thank you. We appreciate the support, and we love it when we get to hear some of our listeners or some of our viewers. We love it. We like that interaction. So, and Miles made a great point in terms of when it comes to Arizona and TCU. It seems like a lot of these teams have been not seeded correctly, because when Memphis played, I heard a lot, Memphis, they're not a true 9 seed. You'd see it with Houston, they're not a true 5 seed. I don't know. Maybe this committee gets to rearrange it a little bit. What say you, Chris?
No, folks, forget that Memphis struggled in non-conference play. Okay, It is still the full body of work for the season. Memphis was hot. It got hot and started playing better in February and March. Okay, but don't forget about December. Okay, and the struggles, and folks calling pennies for pennies head back then. So that's all part of the season as well. And the same thing, but specifically for Houston and Memphis, right or wrong, it is a perception of the American Athletic Conference, Commissioner Resco. People still don't believe the American is good basketball. Despite the fact that Houston went to the Final Four last year. So, and Houston has been a nationally relevant team from the American for a few years now. But basketball, still, they don't play basketball in the American, apparently. So that's a slight that Houston and Memphis have to deal with. But for Houston's case, they only have to deal with it for one more season, hopefully.
By the way, shout out to Fabian White, who in yesterday's pregame press conference before the game shouted out the #Power6 conference that the American Athletic Conference is. That was a funny comment that he made. But we're about to wrap things up. So Aqib, Chris, we'll go around the table. Where can people find you? Aqib, I'll let you go first.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Aqib Gazi. It's on the screen below. And then, just covering Houston sports in general, and then also a little bit of mixed martial arts, MMA and UFC.
And Chris, thank you for joining us once again. You've joined us on every episode, and we greatly appreciate it. Where can people find you, sir?
Twitter there is VHR Review, Houston Roundball Review on Instagram and on YouTube. Once again, I'm glad to help you get this going, man. This Let's Rage Coogs, great idea, great concept. Hopefully, bigger and better things are to come. And salute to you, Andy, Aqib, Dayon. And we'll see Thursday. We'll find out later on today who Houston will play Thursday. And I'm assuming there will be a Let's Rage Coogs on Thursday, correct?
For sure, correct. The unofficial post-game show of UH Athletics, sponsored by No Name here. And on that note, we thank you, all the viewers that tuned in. We thank Galen Robinson, Paige. We thank Miles that took time out of their days to speak on our show. We greatly appreciate it. We love that interaction. Everyone that took time to comment. Alan Luna, special shout out to you. For the how'd you call it, Chris? The sticky comment, or
it's a super chat, super sticker.
Mm-hmm. We appreciate it. We appreciate all the support, and like Chris said, we'll be back on Thursday. I think I mentioned it after the first round game against UAB. When Houston advances, we advance too. So we'll see you again on Thursday, and we'll see how it goes. We greatly appreciate it. People can find me on Twitter at @ayanez_5. Thank you so much, and we'll see you back.